Question, is Bitcoin still going to go up, or are we seeing the top of the cycle in 2025? That's a question we're going to aim to answer in this video. But before we go there, let's play a little game, 2 truths and a lie. So here's the first statement. I'm worth at least 7 figures, so that's $1 million US or more in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a combination of cryptocurrencies. Second statement, I was publicly telling the public to buy as much Bitcoin as possible when it was at $15,500, which is the bottom price of this cycle back in November, December 2022. Before I did a rip and ran up to 100k plus in 2024. Third statement, I just sold a lot or most of my Bitcoin and cryptos and don't plan to buy any of it back for the foreseeable future. Now, of those 3 statements, 2 of them are truthful and 1 of them is a lie. You decide for yourself. Put in the comments which ones you think is which. But regardless of the answer you put in, the real question becomes, is it still worth it to even consider getting into something like Bitcoin or crypto in 2025? Well, the way I see it looks like this. This is about money. This is about you getting ahead. This is about you being able to buy the dream home you've always wanted, the car you've always wanted, the lifestyle you've always wanted, being where you want to be, not having to show up to things you don't want to show up to, i.e. your work, right? And so you're looking for what is the best vehicle to get you there. Fair statement. Okay, so irrespective of whether it's called Bitcoin or whether it's called real estate or whether it's called gold or whether it's called the S&P 500 NASDAQ index fund, you name it, whatever, right? Regardless of what you call it, all you're looking for is what is the thing that will get you there the safest and the fastest. Logically, that makes sense, yes? Now, I'm going to put a big fat disclaimer here. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you any financial or investment advice. These are just my own opinions for educational purposes. But that being said, so do your own research and blah, blah, blah. Read the disclaimer. But logically, I would think that if I'm in charge of my own money, and as far as I'm aware, I am in charge of my own money, and so are you in charge of your own money, then our job is literally just to find what is the asset class that has the highest growth rate, and there's a technical term for this. We call it a CAGR, compound annual growth rate, at the lowest risk of failure or lowest risk of not doing the thing we wanted to do. Now, there's a technical name for that as well. It's called the Sharpe ratio. So you want the thing with the highest CAGR and the thing with the lowest Sharpe, combine the two, pick your best pick. Which asset class meets the criteria best? Now, it's really important that you don't just take my word on this. You don't just you listen to me say it and then you do something about it. You should never do that. Not with me, not with anybody else. Right? Everything has to be verifiable. Everything has to be something you can search yourself, verify with your own eyes. That means you're making a decision based on your own judgment and with a cool head. So what I would do is I would actually go out there and look up what is the CAGR of every respectable asset class or asset class that has a track record of years and decades. And so your choices are what? You have Bitcoin, you have gold, you have real estate, you have index funds, so your S&P 500, NASDAQ, whatever you want to call it. All right. And you would actually Google what is the CAGR of these asset classes and what is the Sharpe ratio of each of these asset classes, and you'd plot them on a piece of paper or wherever you want to be. Now, my editors are going to do this for you and put up as of today. So I'm recording this around March, April 2025. What's the CAGR of every individual asset? You have CAGR for Bitcoin, gold, real estate, call it S&P 500 or NASDAQ. Put that all up. What you'll find is there's a standout winner. The one with the highest CAGR is the winner. Okay, it's Bitcoin. So just comparing, so you have like, you're shopping around. Should you eat steak, broccoli, or what? Well, this is now a question of should you buy asset A, B, C, D? Bitcoin, gold, real estate, shares, or index funds. In terms of which one has the highest CAGR, it's Bitcoin, as of today. Then you go, but which one has the lowest risk? Because you don't want something with a high reward, but a high risk as well. You want something with a high reward with a low risk. That logically makes sense, doesn't it? At least that's what I would want. So then you look up the exact same asset classes and go, but what are their Sharpe ratios? And what you're going to find, so with the Sharpe ratio, by the way, anything above 1 is considered safe. Anything below 1 is considered risky. That's how now you can do your own research as to what that means. But if you look up the Sharpe ratio of each individual asset class, you're going to find that Bitcoin has one of the highest Sharpe ratios, which means it's one of the safest asset classes. So you have an asset class with the highest CAGR and the lowest Sharpe combined into one thing. And then you're asking me, is it still a good idea to buy Bitcoin in 2025? Now, this is irrespective of what Bitcoin does short term. We have seen Bitcoin go from when I publicly told the world to buy Bitcoin at $15,500. That's on my Twitter account. It's on my Indonesian social media channels, right? Because back then I was speaking in Indonesian. It's gone from 15,000-ish to over 100,000 back in December-ish, November 2024. So that's a 7x. Can it still go to 250,000 in 2025? Could it still go to 1 million? It is not my place to say for sure yes or no. All I know is that given a long enough period of time, 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years, Bitcoin has a higher rate of growth than any other asset class you can find, statistically speaking, assuming the future does what the past has done. So is it still worth it? Yeah. But the actual question isn't, is it still worth it to buy Bitcoin? The actual question is, how do I multiply my Bitcoins? Because if you know you have the fastest horse, being Bitcoin, then the next follow-up question is, how do I own more of that horse? How do I, instead of, I've got this cart here, and instead of just being pulled by one horse, can I have 10 of these horses that are equally as fast and powerful? Can I get them driving my cart forward? So it's all about multiplying. I think it was Michael Saylor. He was probably the first person I noticed that publicly predicted Bitcoin will hit $1 million, I think by 2032, if I'm not mistaken. And then he said it'll hit $13 million by 2045. Now, whether or not you agree with that, whether or not you think that's realistic or not, let's just assume that Bitcoin eventually does hit $1 million. Let's just assume that. Then the next follow-up question is, how many Bitcoins do you own heading into $1 million? And then the next follow-up question becomes, when it's time to cash it in, buy your house, like switch your crypto to the things you want in your life? How do you do that without losing your Bitcoin? How do you do that without losing any future growth in your Bitcoin? These are the follow-up questions that should start coming up, yes? And so these are the conversations that one needs to have in order to do the best for your own bank account, to do the best for your own finances. If you have ascertained, if you have determined that Bitcoin, hey, has the highest CAGR, highest rate of growth every year on average, and it has the highest Sharpe ratio, meaning it's the safest asset class among many different asset classes, or one of the safe, then it's simply a question of how many can you own. What we do, and I'm talking in the community I've already established in Indonesia, it's had, at the peak of the cycle is 4,500. It's gone down since. We've told people to take profits or cash in some of their cryptos. Or at least in the community we've built in Indonesia, our focus has been on multiplying Bitcoin. Now, we can do it by doing a few of different things. Timing swings in the middle, because markets don't move in straight lines. We can do it by adding or multiplying our income, scaling our businesses. Instead of earning $10,000 a month, earning $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. We can also do it by using strategies that I probably don't recommend for the average Joe, shorting the market when it's heading down. Okay, there are a couple of ways of doing this to multiply Bitcoin. But if you are able to multiply your Bitcoin in principle, in concept, is it possible that when you only had enough to buy, say, 1 Bitcoin when it was at 100,000, could you eventually accumulate more than 1 Bitcoin? Could you accumulate 10? Can you accumulate more than 10 before it hits $1 million? That's the golden question. But feel free to let me know what you think. Do you think Bitcoin's still going to go up in 2025? Do you think everything I said is just talking shit? Or does it have validity to it? And is there any other things that are on your mind that needs to be answered or addressed for you to make the best decision for you? This is a video that I made in response to one of our commenters on YouTube. He said, I wish you put in more long-form content around Bitcoin. So it's an acknowledgement to you, sir. But I hope it gives you a bit of direction. At least, maybe not for the short term, but in the medium to long term, we know which horse is the fastest. Okay? Now go out there and accumulate as much Bitcoin as you can. Till then, take care. And here's to your success. Bye.